I'm delighted to have been asked by Learning Waves and IBI to officially open the Radio Days Ireland Conference 2020. I think Lena's touched on that we have a very long and positive association with Learning Waves and indeed with IBI, and we obviously look forward to continuing our relationship both now and into the future. Lena mentioned some of the work, the areas we supported. We had a great day with the students, the journalism students up in our place there in the second half of last year. There's a few other things we supported last year. The work with Garrett Hart that was done on the strategic review of news output. That was done on a number of select radio stations. And there was a partnership with the BBC Belfast, which is a panel discussion series called Radio Matters. I think that started in October. Again, great to see those kind of initiatives with the sector. In the current year, we've increased our funding contribution to support a number of things, including giving some money to this conference. We're delighted to do that. There's also a plan for some one-to-one training on content development, which I think is quite important. And then there's the proposals, I think, for the number of delivery of a number of expert workshops in the area of news and technology. So again, we look forward to continuing that relationship that we've had on an ongoing basis through the Sector Learning and Development Programme with Learning Waves over this year and indeed for years to come. These are interesting times. We live in interesting times. Who was it said made that observation? But they're certainly interesting times for the radio and the broadcasting industries and for media more generally. And of course, we're all sitting here waiting with bated breath for the formation of the new government. It might happen today. I don't think so. I think the most we're going to get this afternoon is the election of the new Ceann Comhairle, and I can confirm it is Sean O'Farrell. He was successful in the vote today. I think it will be a little bit longer before we get everything else sorted out. And one observation I make is that you've probably all been reading the various parties' manifestos on broadcasting and media over the last month and probably asking them a few questions on that as well. And the manifestos are all very interesting. But as you know, it's what ends up in the programme for government is what really matters. So I think that's the very much the focus for I think it should be the focus for everybody in the industry over the next period. So keep watching that particular space. I do recall in 2016 there was an awful lot of material in one manifesto, and I think there was about 2 lines, if there was even 2, when the programme for government came along. So I do think it is important, while the election is over, there is that period to influence what is going to be in government. And I've no doubt IBI will take on that role with relish over the next, 2 weeks, 2 months, we'll see, however long it takes for us to get a government in place. There are also interesting times for the BAI. As you know, one of the last acts of the outgoing government was to publish the general scheme for the regulation of online content. So that got published and then they promptly went to the country. In addition to many other elements, this envisaged the dissolution of the BAI and that we would be subsumed into a new Online Media Commission. As well as that, you all would be familiar with the Broadcasting Amendment Act, which went through I think for about 5 years that was gone through, and eventually, obviously, like any other legislation that didn't get through, it fell when the Dáil was dissolved. I think probably at this stage, given that we're starting into a new term for a new government, I think it will be one major piece of legislation which should cover everything. And I do think it will be very important that, again, with legislation that's coming through, that it's going to influence how Ireland, the Ireland media sector is regulated over the next number of years. So I really think it's an important period, and an important period for IBI and indeed ourselves to see how that can be influenced. But again, we must await the incoming minister and government and get their thoughts on how they see the proposal that was published before in January, and how they see the evolution of regulation for this sector and indeed for the new online media sector. And maybe there are some of the topics that you might touch on in the first the Future of Radio session that you're about to have. I want to commend Learning Waves and IBI, again, putting together a fantastic programme over the 2 days of the conference. You've got topics, the future of radio, which we mentioned. There's research, the future of news, creativity, audience insights, coverage of elections, obviously very, very appropriate at the moment, and some individual personal experiences of radios from some very good speakers. Session on leadership and podcasts. Podcasts becoming very, very popular. I was tuned in, as I'm sure some of you were, to Ivan Yates and Gavin Riley's podcast of the election when he was calling all the constituencies, and he gave Fianna Fáil an awful lot of seats. So I think I hope that Ivan didn't go to the bookies and put money on those seats, because he certainly got that one very, very wrong. But anyway, he's not here, so we won't say any more about that. You can convey that, Patricia, too. Before I finish, I would just want to give a quick mention to this evening's celebration of the 30th anniversary of 17 radio stations. And I'm really sorry, but because I had a prior commitment, genuinely a prior commitment for this evening, I can't attend. I would really like to have been there for that, obviously, having been around as long as I have. So I just want to pay tribute now, today, to all the stations concerned. I mean, they're such an integral part of life right across Ireland. And if I can be forgiven, I want to give a special mention to my local station, WLR-FM, because they're there tonight as well. Because my friends and family down in Waterford, they do a fantastic job. So I just had to give them a little mention. Finally, thanks to Teresa Hanratty of Learning Waves and to Lisa D. Kostela of IBI for putting together such a great event with such an excellent lineup of speakers and panellists. I think it's really going to be a great 2 days. And I will be back here tomorrow morning for the various sessions that you've got at that time. So I now formally declare the Radio Days Ireland 2020 officially opened. I've done my task.